Welcome to the V8 Radio Automotive Podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, V8Radio.com, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And now, here's Kevin Oeste and Mike Clarke. Alrighty, to our automotive friends from all around the world, guess what came up in your subscription feed? That's right. Another
trenchant episode of V8 Radio, Kevin.
Trenchant?
Yes, sir. That means to be characterized by energy and effectiveness.
Oh, wow. Well, I have two thoughts on that. One, it first sounded like trench foot.
Which, that's no good.
Which is bad. And then it also, is that French? Is it like tranchant?
Tranchant, it could
tranchant?
be. I didn't study the origins, unfortunately.
Nice. Well, we'll butcher it the way us Americans do and call
Absolutely.
it trenchant.
Trenchant over by there, huh?
That's right. Well, you are listening to the V8 Radio Podcast. I'm Kevin Oeste, joined, as always, by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Huball Clarke. And if you've listened to the show before, which we, of course, know you have, you know that we launch every particular episode with some form of an automotive trivia question or thereabouts. So we're going to dive headfirst into this one and pose the trivia questions to each other. You can play along at home and guess along. And, of course, we'll reveal the answers at the end. And it's not that exciting, but that's what we do.
Oh, it's fabulous. What, are you kidding me? Don't oversell it, man.
Well, it's trenchant.
True.
Have you,
right.
in fact, prepared a trivia question for this episode?
Absolutely, as always. So let us release it. Okay, Kevin and listeners, this is the music sort of a question.
Oh.
The 80s all-girl pop music group The Go-Go's released a music video for their hit song Our Lips Are Sealed.
Yeah.
And in the video, the band can be seen driving around L.A. in a classic convertible. What was the year, make, and model of that car?
Wow. I don't know. I don't remember the video, believe it or not. I know the song.
Yeah.
But,
you got to really go in the Wayback Machine to start remembering that one.
Well, I know a decent amount of 80s videos. I'm just surprised that one didn't stick. So I'm just going to say it was a 50 Mercury convertible.
50 Merc Ragtop, Kevin says.
It's a little out of character for the Go-Go's, because they were kind of like this. They were a little more of a punk band before they got radio airplay and had to be a pop band. So, you'd be thinking at least a Mustang convertible or maybe even, like a...
Well, you got to remember they got to fit the whole band in there. Was it 4 or 5 members?
A big Ford or something. But then Hollywood doesn't really know that stuff very often, so they could have just said, hey, look, there's a Merc, get in it.
Could be.
Yeah. It's got to be a big car, though, you're right. They might have jumped in their Chrysler that's as big as a whale.
Ooh. They're heading on down. Oh, boy.
Yeah, this one I just straight up don't know. So I'm going to stick with the 50 mark.
Okay. Duly noted, sir. 50 Mercury Ragtop. Cool car, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. After thumbing through some of those vintage Rodden Customs, the lead sled thing, for good ones, they're awesome.
For sure.
You don't see them very often, so they're kind of off the radar screen a little bit, but a good custom is tip-top, man. Always
Amen.
did those. All right, well, as we record this, this past week we had a kind of a tragic event in the world of motorsports.
Yes.
Our friend and multi-champion Mr. Bobby Unser passed away at the long-lived age of 87. And I think Mr. Unser, for most of those 87 years, his life tachometer was pinned in the red, which was
certainly
cool. Yeah. So my trivia question to you is, the Pikes Peak hill climb is affectionately known as Unser Hill. How many times did he win the Pikes Peak hill climb?
You know what? When I learned of his passing, I should have thought ahead and realized that I would probably be asked a Bobby Unser trivia question. I mean, you gave a tremendous interview to him with him at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals a few years ago.
Well, you got to phrase that properly. I sat there and he told awesome stories. Is what really happened.
You facilitated a great interview, let's say that.
I think I just provided visual balance on the stage. That was about it.
Yeah, but I was lucky enough. I got to witness that. Our good friend Paul was with me. He got to witness that as well. Mm-hmm. That was really something. And that car, the car that he won the Pikes Peak in, that was the 69 Torino.
Yep.
Yeah, that was on display there. And, of course, that was a Muscle Car of the Week feature car as well, owned by the Brothers Collection currently. Mm-hmm. But getting back to your question,
right.
How many times did Bobby Unser win the Pikes Peak hill climb? I know it was more than one.
It was more
otherwise
than one.
It wouldn't be called Unser Hill.
Unser Hill, yeah. He also won that other little race, the Indy 500.
Yeah.
At least 3 times.
Yeah, that's an amateur race, right?
Yeah, he won. He's one of the only 2 people that won the Indy 500 in 3 different decades.
That's amazing. He was amazing.
He's got Bonneville Land Speed records.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got, champ racing and you name it.
He taught himself to fly so we can get to the next race quicker.
Right. Yeah, and that was one of the greatest stories that he revealed that day. I forgot about that one, where he was telling us that he just, he figured he didn't have enough time to do his full work week and then drive a truck and trailer with his race car to the next race. So I guess somebody else on the team would bring the car and he would fly there. And then he thought, well, if I can fly myself, I could save some money. So he teaches himself how to fly this Cessna, I guess, and doesn't have a pilot's license. Is flying all over the country. And somebody asked him, why don't you get a license? And he said, well, what do you need to do? And they're like, well, you got to demonstrate your ability to fly. And, you got to do things like put the thing into a stall and let it fall and recover out of that. And he's like, well, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to put the thing in a stall. I'm afraid of heights. Why would you want to do that?
That's craziness.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He was great.
He was. It's sure is a loss. But Bobby Unser, all right, I don't know the exact number, and I should, because it was mentioned before. But I'm going to say Bobby Unser won Pikes Peak a total of 6 times.
6? Wow. 6 times.
And I think I'm selling the man short, unfortunately.
At 6?
Because I really want to say 13.
You want to say, but that's an unlucky number.
It is, but if anyone could make it lucky, it'd be him.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I suppose 6 would be enough to have people refer to the event as your own if you want.
You know what? I'm not gonna. You know what? That is not my final answer.
It is not. Oh
no, I have not locked it in yet, sir. I'm gonna go 14 times.
14.
14.
Wow. Okay, man. That's a lot of wins.
It is a lot of wins, but that's the number of wins you need to make it called Bobby Unser Hill. That's
the official?
Yes.
If you win something 14 times,
that's your baseline.
Yeah. All right. I don't know that I've won anything 14 times, so I got nothing named after me. All
Same.
Right. If that's your final answer, that is duly noted.
Dig it. That is.
We will find out at the end of the show.
Right on, man.
Yeah. So lots of stuff going on. It's finally getting some nice weather out here as we record this. It's Alan Shepard Day.
It is Alan Shepard Day. also known as Cinco de Mayo.
Right. Yeah.
There's that. Yeah.
Well, not enough people acknowledge Alan Shepard Day, I think, because it was 60 years ago today, so it's a big one.
That's amazing. 60 years ago, our first American went into space.
Right. And it was the Mercury program aboard, Friendship 7, I think? And it was,
I believe so, yes.
Not a very long flight, but it was it was enough to get us, back in the race. The Soviets with Yuri Gagarin had reached space first, and it made the collective United States population start shaking in their boots because of it was kind of a proxy war we were fighting against the Soviets, which was better than a real one.
Yeah, always.
But instead of engaging in some sort of conflict on the ground, we played a chess match in the sky, and it was very cool because we pioneered all kinds of great technology that you and I are using right now, thanks to guys like Alan Shepard and the NASA team. So,
thank you, boys.
Oh yeah. And along those lines, this has nothing to do with it, but it's something I wanted to chat about, and that is your new truck.
Oh, yeah. Almost forgot about that. Yeah, right. So, last we chatted, I was looking to pick up a pickup truck, a full-size pickup, and I went to look at one. It was after work a week ago Friday, and it wasn't quite what I was hoping for. So I kind of nixed it. It had too many miles. It was a nice truck. It was a 2500 HD crew cab with a standard bed, 6-liter, not the diesel. But it just something didn't feel right about it, and I just, it looked like somebody had painted the frame over all the rust on the frame with black paint. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? That looks a little sketchy. So, I mean, I can understand wanting it to look nice, but what is it trying to hide? So
it was dolled up for sale.
Exactly. Yeah. So the guy at the dealer where I went, he says, "Is there anything else that might pique your interest here?" Mm-hmm. And granted, I drove a long way. I drove an hour and a half to look at this thing.
Wow.
After work on a Friday. And, you know what? I had in the back of my mind, I've always wanted a Suburban. So I said, "You got any Suburbans?" He says, "I got 3. So we looked at them, and I kind of zeroed in on this one, a 2011, and it was clean as a whistle. And the interior was nice, carpet was nice, no rust on it, no dents, no accidents, 2-owner vehicle. Took it for a drive, and I said, "Ooh, I'm in trouble." I think this is my horse. So I called my wife. I told her what I'm doing. She's on board. So we did it. So I drove it home. So I'm the proud owner of a Summit White 2011 Chevy Suburban.
Well, good for you, man.
Thank you.
I dig Suburbans.
I could not be happier with this truck. This is the only truck I ever want to own for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you texted me something along those lines.
Yeah, this type of vehicle. Maybe not this particular one, but a Suburban nonetheless.
Yeah.
So roomy. I feel like a grown-up again coming from Chevy Cruze for 8 years.
Well, I could see it, in physical stature, but hopefully not mentally.
Right, yeah.
Well, welcome to the suburbs, man.
Man, thank you.
Suburbanite now. I've always dug those, and I think you and I chatted about that before you were looking at the pickup trucks. And the only downside I see to a Suburban really isn't that much of a downside for the one time you'll do it. Mm-hmm. But if you need to get an engine hoist and an engine in the thing, the Suburban interior is a lot cleaner than a pickup truck. And a little harder to get a hoist or something in there. Even though our buddy Eric has delivered me engines in the back of a rented minivan already.
Nice.
Yeah. So anything can be done.
Sure.
But yeah, they're nice. They got a lot of room. They're comfortable. They're so how does it drive?
Like a dream. Oh, it's so smooth.
Nice.
It has good power. Has a 5.3, 6-speed automatic. Has a sunroof. Has the DVD infotainment system with a fold-down screen for the rear passengers.
Right on.
3-row seats up to 8 people.
And it'll pull a camper.
And it will pull a camper. Jennifer Clarke, I'm talking to you directly. It will pull a camper.
So is that becoming a thing?
Well, I mean, not
point?
immediately, but I would love it to become a thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, a Suburban darn near is a camper.
it could be. Remove the 3rd-row seats, and you pretty much have yourself a little camper right there.
Now,
little motorhome.
A removable 3rd row, or does it fold
Yes.
flat into the floor?
It is removable.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you get
Yeah,
even more space that way.
Yeah, that's a 10th generation. The 11th gens had the fold into the floor 3rd-row seats.
You could tell this guy's been on the Suburban forums. He's referring them by the gen number.
I have been going on
I got a 10th
deep
gen.
dive. Yeah, 10th gen, 6-speed, 5.3. Yeah. What do you got? Oh, you got the 9th gen? That's cute.
Nice. Those 11th gen people are the ones you got to watch out for.
No doubt. Those bougie sons of guns, I tell you what.
That's right. It reminds me when Trevor, our technician at the V8 Speed and Resto shop, bought a Cadillac CTS V.
Yeah.
You actually test drove for
I
him.
did. Ooh, that was a nice car.
It was a cool car, and it was right in line with what his budget was and miles and condition and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the same thing. He jumped online and he's learning about the thing on the forum and chatting with people. And I think his was 2nd gen, and the newer 3rd gen guys were like poo-pooing the 2nd gen guys. There was no love for the older ones. But
it's a bummer.
Suburban is timeless, and
it is.
I think everybody who digs them. I mean, I think every one of those generations, I think, is cool.
Yes, I would agree with that. They all have something to offer.
There's one in the back of my mind that I would love to get, and it would be like a 78, 79, so a round headlight, square body.
Yes.
Lifted, 4-wheel drive, red, black tinted windows with some kind of safari rack and lights.
Oh,
big
man.
winch. It'd be awesome. And then, just take the drivetrain out of yours and throw it in that.
There you go.
And it would be just a super win. And every once in a while I see one of those things and I look at it because, again, everything goes back to your youth. My neighbor had what I believe to be about a 77. It was like orange, wood grain, naugahyde, tan and orange rust-colored seats and everything. Mm-hmm. And he was when I was in Boy Scouts. He was a scout leader of some sort, and we'd go on trips in that thing and pulling a camper, and it just rusted so bad.
Oh man,
all the way to the roof, and he replaced it with I think an '84, which was square headlight but still square body, blue one.
Yep.
And then that one rusted all the way to the roof too, I think. So I've always been a little bit leery about buying that generation because. If they were from anywhere that had salt on the roads, they didn't have a fighting chance.
Nah, you're right. It's tough to find one from that era that's real solid.
Yeah.
Unless it was like lived in Arizona or had major surgery done to it.
Yeah, in the Southwest and southern states, you still see them pretty often.
Sure.
My buddy Jim came home with one. He had, I don't know, that same era. 78 or 9 or something, and his was beat to death.
Really?
I mean, this thing was just, and it had 1 billion miles on it, and and the body was totally shot. So he bought another one. The chassis on his first one was in really good shape, though. So
cool.
It wasn't rusty. He had done maintenance on it. It was 4-wheel drive, motor ran great. So one afternoon, I see him at the shop. In fact, his grandfather owned a mechanic shop. that I worked for a summer at when I was in college, as a matter of fact. Anyway, Jim was a wrench, and he, this afternoon he's got this Suburban, and he buys another one that's got a nice body.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to put these two together, I think. Oh, cool. He shows up at my house like 26 hours later driving the thing.
Wow.
It's done.
Jeez.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you fixed it? You bought one and fixed it or something? He's like, no. So he had two lifts and just body swap, roll a chassis out of one, bam, back
goodness.
down on the other one in just over, and he did it straight through, because we were young and that's
sure.
what
we
you did
do
back then.
Yeah.
So that was cool, and he also eventually put the rusty body on the replacement one. Okay. So he had two functioning Suburbans now, but one was heavily cancered. So I show up at his house one day, and here's this flat black Suburban behind the garage. Oh, you get another one? No. That was that same one. Oh, you painted it? You took the time to fix this thing? Huh? He's like, nah, that's all expanding foam.
Nice.
And back at the quarter window, at the corner, you could grab it and lightly squeeze the thing.
That's wonderful. I love it.
Cheese grater and expanding foam.
Well, so, whatever works.
Yeah, it's a good thing they've come a long way since then. And,
yes.
I'm glad you got something that you dig,
Oh, man. I keep telling Jenny, like every chance I get, my wife Jennifer, I said, I love the Suburban so much. She's starting to get sick of hearing it. Uh-huh. But, yeah.
Well, it's a good thing she already has, a nice newer car for herself. Otherwise,
yes.
You'd be selling her and getting one for her.
Exactly. And actually, speaking of Jennifer, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Last time we talked, on the show, we were talking about the Power Tour dates and how they coincided with our birthdays, and how I thought, my wife is not going to want to spend her birthday on the Hot Rod Power Tour. Mm-hmm. And she listened to that show. Uh-oh. And she had a bit of a bone to pick with me. She's like, excuse me, how do you know I don't want to spend my birthday with you on the Power Tour? I'm like, I just assumed. She's like, I just did some digging, and I think we can make a few stops. Wow. As long as your car's running. Yeah. Honest to God. On. Yes.
Well, that's super cool.
It is amazing. She never ceases to surprise me.
Gotta love that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So as long as the car's running and I feel like it'll take it, I think the first 3 stops I'll be able to make.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, Jen. I appreciate that, she looked into it and said this might be fun, because it is a road trip. It's a vacation of sorts.
Yes.
And she's probably looking at it from that angle.
Mm-hmm.
She might not want to go again. Or she might love it. Chances are she's going to love it.
Yeah, I hope she does.
The car's got to do what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. And if I feel in any way, shape, or form it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, then we're not doing it. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Because my story, I wasn't sure the car was going to do what it was going to do, and then I met my wife.
Yeah, then you found a wife. Yeah. So maybe it did what it was supposed to do.
Oh, it certainly did.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Great. So that kind of puts the throttle back down on the GTO.
Yes, it does. So I'm working on Randy's timeline. He has a few things to button up on his El Camino. Mm-hmm. He has the engine back in it. He fired it up. He has to get everything else put together so we can maybe take it for a little bit of a, drive up and down the driveway or down the street to see what it's going to do. And then he'll be able to make some movement around in the shop, and I'll be able to get the car over there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let me think for a second. I honestly didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the details on the Power Tour route for 21. Isn't it like Ohio?
It starts in Norwalk. It's Summit.
Norwalk. Yeah. And then it goes west, right?
Yes, it does. So we would be able to. It goes from Norwalk, I think,
is it down to Indy? Yeah, and then across to Gateway,
and then
St. Louis.
Yeah, and then to State Farm Arena at University of Illinois. In Bloomington, or Champaign, rather.
And then back.
And there's, I think, one more stop after that, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
5 stops, 6 stops?
It seemed short to me this year, but yeah, it's usually around there. Huh, very interesting. So, well, heck, for me, that would be similar to the early power tours that Paul and I went on, where you drive a destination to get to the start, and then it brings you home.
Yes.
And in my case, it would come right to St. Louis, which is 25 miles from where we live.
Right.
Might have to look at that.
Yes, you might have to.
Yeah. Huh, cool. Right on.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about the whole thing.
Well, that's cool. And if the GTO isn't ready, you got a sweet Suburban.
I do. You still make a few stops.
Yeah.
I'll just drive the support vehicle instead.
Yeah, we'll have to get some graphics done for it.
There we go. We need a big V8 radio down the side.
Yeah, there you go.
It would look great.
There's Plan B. And it's air conditioned, and it's smooth and quiet.
It has rear air, and everything works on this thing. I've been testing everything. Everything works. It's amazing.
That's funny because a long, long time ago, I was chatting with Cole Quinnell, and Cole used to be a hot rod staffer.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, I don't know if you remember, in the 90s, there was a 57 Chevy project car called the Pavement Pounder in hot rod. It was orange, big block Chevy, full cage. It was like a 9-second car. It was a very nice 57.
Oof.
Probably one of the nicest magazine project cars ever done.
Cool.
I mean, it was really, really nice. Because a lot of magazine projects back in the day were things that looked really nice, but maybe weren't completely sorted out because they were more built for editorial content than to be a car.
Sure.
We used to joke about how the disc brake swap was done on the driver's side and not the passenger, just to get the pictures done and get it to print,
That's awesome.
But Cole was telling me, and Jeff Smith was saying something similar, that in the early days of Power Tour, the goal was like, I want to build a cruiser, it's comfortable with air and I could drive cross country and really enjoy it. And then they did a couple of them and they're like, you know what? That's not really the point. Maybe the point is to do something ridiculous and drive something that shouldn't be driven across the country.
I can see that, yeah.
And that's when Cole brought the Pavement Pounder, and at the time it had I don't know if it had a 540 in it.
Holy cow.
And I remember helping him out because he broke some valve springs along the way in Indy, and this was a legit 9-second car in a shoebox in the 90s, 98 I think this was.
That's amazing.
Right, carbureted. Yeah, but it had a gear vendor on it, so it was definitely a precursor to a drag week car.
Right, exactly. I was just going to say that. That's exactly the formula.
Yes, yeah. He should break that thing out and do drag week with it.
Well, you need to speak with him again.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Cool.
Very interesting. Yeah, well, speaking of gear vendors, We've done numerous installs of gear vendor overdrives, and right now there's some great options for doing overdrives in cars with the advent of the TKX 5-speed manual that has come out, and I've got 2 of them on the way to the shop right now, which is cool.
Sweet.
Those are hard to come by at this point.
Are they?
But our friends at Modern Driveline got a good allocation and set a few aside. So we have these cars. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called it's got 3 letters in the name. I don't know if it's
I may GTX,
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, GTO.
GTO, yeah.
Yeah. So a gentleman is bringing us a car. He's already prepaid for the transmission and the conversion. We're doing an automatic to manual.
Oh, boy.
In a 66, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Amazingly restored car. Beautiful car.
Uh-huh.
Big inch Pontiac motor. Lots of power. It's running a turbo 400 with a gear vendor and a CompuShift box with paddle shifters.
Get out of here.
And he wants to row the gears manually.
All right. I respect that.
Way more fun, and
it is
something different.
It is way more fun.
Yeah. So it's a little recon I can do, to see how the gear vendor fits in that first gen A-body platform.
Sure.
Because it's coming in with the drive shaft and, everything on a 400.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know if he wants to make a deal on the unit. I mean, if you're talking power tour now, you're starting to talk overdrive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it has soccer mom gears in it already, so it's not bad. It has AC gears like 293. So
okay, that's
RPMs are still pretty reasonable at highway speeds.
Gotcha. And I know I earmarked a 204R for you that I've had sitting in the barn forever, and quite frankly, I'm not sure it's still there.
Oh, no.
I physically have not laid my eyes on it in many, many years.
Oh, man.
But I
That's
think
okay.
it's still there. Well, but I mean, if this dude wants to, unload that, you got 293 gears.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, it'd be good. It'll be good information. And plus, we'll be able to do the swap and do the TKX to see how that fits in those cars. The tunnel's not that narrow for being able to swallow a turbo 400. So we're not anticipating a lot of hassle on that one, but it should be pretty cool.
It should be great. Yeah, I'm interested to see the progress on that.
Yeah, car will be here in a couple weeks. So
nice. What color is it?
It's not an original color. It's a custom, and it's kind of a candy reddish orange.
Okay.
It's a great looking car. There's a lot of money in this car.
Is that right?
And he just wants something different with the driveline. So, okay, let's do it. Yep. Well, he knows he's seen our work before and knows that the team is careful around something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not going to bash it all up and scratch it up, and he can drop it off and not worry about it. So that's cool.
Very nice. Yeah, Trevor actually teased me with a sweet picture of I think a 70 GTO, a gold one, with he sent me a shot of the 455 GTO 455 CID emblem on there. I'm like, oh man. He's like, just thought you want to see what I'm working on today.
Yeah, and it's a nice car.
Yeah.
Well, you remember our friend Mo.
Absolutely. And his secretary.
Right. That he referred to his wife as a secretary.
Yep.
Ah, boy. Mo is a veteran, a non-vet, a customer, a gearhead, and just an overall great guy. I talked to him this past week, as a matter of fact. He called me to see what's up. Yeah. And this is a tangent on a tangent, but it was interesting. Mo was telling me about a Vietnam memorial in Peevely, Missouri, that is an exact replica of the Vietnam Wall Memorial in Washington. Yeah. He said, I think the only difference is that the Nam Wall in Washington, the names are etched into the stone, so you do the rubbings.
Yes.
And I don't know if I don't think they carved those. I think they might have blasted, sand blasted or something, those into the granite. And the one in Peevely doesn't have that level of depth. He said you can still kind of do a rub transfer, but it's not as deep. But everything else is like right on. And Mo had just taken 2 bus loads of vets down there to tour the place and check it out. And he was just going on and on about how cool this was, which is, it's a nice little afternoon day trip for us. It's not very far away. So I'm kind of thinking about doing maybe a little car cruise. We'll get some people together.
Oh, right on.
Buzz down there, check it out. So Mo's like, yeah, go on the web and find the website. It's the Vietnam Memorial. He goes, just type in Peevely, Missouri, and it'll come up. And sure enough, here's the website. It's super impressive looking. And here's the photo gallery. And I click on the photo gallery, and the very first picture is my neighbor handing over a Christmas gift to somebody.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And in my neighborhood, I have several Vietnam veterans that live around here. And this is a gentleman named Stan who lives on the other side. He's 2 blocks away, if you will.
Okay.
And he was in Nam. And if I remember correctly, Stan's dad ran a Ford dealership.
Okay.
So Stan, growing up in the early 60s, was always around big early 60s Fords.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I got to talking about my Galaxy and that 7-liter that we did at the shop. And
yeah.
So it was pretty wild to see Stan on the website.
Yeah, right.
For this non-memorial after talking to Mo. Well, the reason why we brought up Mo's car is a gold 70 GTO with a 400 that
Correct.
we did the 5-speed conversion on. The car that's in the shop right now is a gold 70, but it's a 455 car, and it's an automatic, but it's got some really cool options on it. It's a factory AM/FM radio, tilt wheel, power disc brakes, power steering, power driver bucket seat.
Really?
That's a cool one. Yeah, you don't see that very often.
No, not at all.
Air conditioning, and it's a nice car. And our customer bought it a year or so ago, year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. And he brought it to us, and we fixed a few things. I think we inspected the gears. I don't remember if we put a gear set in that one or not, but did some seals and just fluids and stuff. And then we did a Holley Sniper on it. So it's fuel injected.
Cool.
Hidden underneath the air cleaner, so you can't tell.
Yeah, man.
And he brought it back this time because he was concerned that the motor was getting a little loose. A little noisy, a little rattly, a little oil consumption going on. So
okay, that kind of loose. All right.
Right. And it's not a high mileage car. It's just so we ended up doing an in-car, compression check and checked a few things, and it was determined, and because he wanted to do it, he wanted to rebuild this thing and renew it, essentially.
Yeah, sure.
So we pulled the motor, and we had a local shop do machine work on it, did a roller cam conversion.
Cool.
Detailed it, put it back in the car, and put of course, the EFI system back on it. And I drove that thing today, and it is really, really nice.
Is it?
It is a really nice car. Yeah, it's got 14-inch Rally 2s on it with red lines. So, another thing we did is the eyebrow stripes, like a judge stripe.
Okay.
They didn't come on that car, but they are what would have, if you ordered them.
Sure. For if you had a judge package on it, right?
Yeah. He just liked the way they looked, so we threw those on
cool.
there.
He has good taste.
And the only thing that, from a critical standpoint, so today, unfortunately, I have to drive a lot of these cars before they go home.
Oh, such troubles!
It's horrible.
I don't know how you do it, man.
I just drag myself into work.
You're a giver.
Yes. Well, the main thing is to make sure that, as we've learned, if a technician works on a car, so first of all, you've got the owner and the way the owner drives it.
Yep.
And then you got the technician who did the work. And if it's something that involves a test drive, technician's going to take it around the block. And of course, we're insured for all that and all that jazz. And we're not out hot rodding the thing around, just making sure that it does what it's supposed to do. But we've learned, because we've sent cars home and the owner has complained that the issue was still there, like a bug or something, and the technician didn't experience it. And the reason why is because the technician drives the car totally different
Sure.
from the way the owner does. So Trevor says, hey, let's put a couple people behind the wheel of this thing just to get feedback and make sure that, because I'm probably the most conservative driver in the shop. I mean, any manual shift car, I always try to get it to leave the line without any throttle at all.
Oh, wow.
Let's just feel the clutch. Let's, not burning it up, but just feel the action, feel how those off idle jets are pulling and timing and, all that stuff. I'm Mr. Low Speed, and I'm listening to everything. And so today I drove that GTO to do that evaluation. Super smooth. It's very eager. It's got good power.
Cool.
But being a roller conversion, it's got a little valve noise.
Does it?
And I don't know if it's the lifter link bars maybe, or there's something going on there. It seemed to diminish as it got warmer.
Okay.
So it actually could have been a lifter. Maybe the lifters are pumping up or whatever. It wasn't horrible. My first thought was, we got to put it back on the rack and tighten up the exhaust leak. But as I listened to it more, I'm like, no, there's 8 of those,
We have 8 exhaust leaks now.
Yeah, at least, so I deduced it to be valve noise. And then when I got back, I opened the hood and listened to it run. And yeah, you can hear a very faint sewing machine.
Tap, 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 tappity.
Yeah. So that's something that you might encounter on yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm prepared for that. I understand that may happen.
Yeah. And that's something that we got to make sure that the owner is prepared for and understands. And I'm sure we told him about it ahead of time. Some are worse than others. My Galaxy makes noise, and I would really love to make it go away. But it's, roller lifter, roller rocker, roller tips, and there's just so much. There's so many axles in there, and everything's rolling.
Tiny clearances here and there.
Yep. Yeah. And I've got adjustable rocker arms, but they are on the push rod tip side.
Oh.
There's a cup with a set screw type thing.
Oh, I see.
So you can't adjust them while it's running like you can on
a GM or a Center.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to shut it down, turn the engine over to base circle on that particular cylinder, get the feeler gauge, tighten it down. Jump to the opposite side and do the half-day valve adjustment.
That stinks.
Put the valve covers back on, fired up, and hope it worked.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it's been all right. But that GTO was nice. So Trevor teased you with a good picture of a cool car.
He did. I love him and hate him for it all at the same time.
Well,
oh, man.
Speaking of the Galaxy, so spring has sprung around here, and I've been actually able to put miles on both my old Buick and our '62 Ford.
Cool.
Last weekend, Kelly and I took the Galaxy out to dinner, had date night in the car.
Nice.
It was a beautiful night, top down, and did 50 miles probably.
Oh, wonderful.
And I can really say that from the driving standpoint, that car is finally sorted out.
Right on.
Yeah, it is really nice. I mean, I guess I could nitpick it and say it does have
sorted.
that valve tick, but it steers wonderfully. Did that Borgeson power steering conversion on it a couple years ago, and I put a tilt column in it. With the Borgeson deal, I was a little dismayed when we first installed it because it was almost too tight. Like it wouldn't return to center.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, what is this? And I didn't know if it was an alignment spec or if it was just reduced pump assist, hydraulic pressure assist. Right. And when you turn the wheel, I mean, all the front steering linkage, it's not calendar new, but it's pretty new stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've always kept it greased really well. And so there's no play in the steering at all. What is it? And Trevor actually found that he's like, your Pitman arm or your idler arm has a bushing in it, and it appears to be over tightened.
Ooh.
So he loosened on this Ford design, you can loosen the nut and put the cotter key back in, and it released a little bit of that tension.
Oh, nice.
And now the steering is nice. It's not nice and loose, but it's
right.
It's where you expect it.
Yeah, it performs the way it's supposed to.
It's not one finger old car steering either. It's nice. It's got great road feel. And this car, the faster you drive, the better it feels. It's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's killer, man.
Yeah, it really is. I gotta change the seats.
Now you just got to put the 5-speed in it that you want now too.
Well, the transmission's dynamite. Like I said, last year we had the 4R70W rebuilt, and the shift points are perfect. The firmness is great. The lockup speed engage is dynamite. The RPM cruising is wonderful. I almost hate to do it, because it's just so nice.
Well,
so I'm going to leave it alone and drive it.
Nice. Good. Yeah. Good. Very good. I'm glad.
Now, I would also really enjoy it if it had a 5-speed in it, manual.
Sure.
But right now, my focus is shifting to other places. And when I say I got to change the seats, it's an original bucket seat car. The 500XL was a bucket console car. And it's got the original seats. They've been reupholstered a couple times. And this latest go-around, they were upholstered, 6 years ago now.
Uh-huh.
And the foam is a little too much.
Is it?
They're kind of overstuffed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think the upholsterer who did it kind of knew it, but he wanted to have him fill out the covers nicely.
Okay.
So they look pretty good, but you sit way up in the seat, and I'm close to the steering wheel, and it's all the way back, and it's not comfortable. So I want to do a reclining, adjustable, probably just a low back Scat Pro car without the headrest, because it, as a convertible, I don't like to see the headrest sticking up, and move them back on the track so that I can stretch my legs out a little bit.
Right. I would like the same thing in that GTO. I would love to be able to move that seat back a little bit further.
Yeah.
Just maybe another 3 inches or so would be perfect.
Yeah. It makes a big difference. And now our buddy Rick has that 67 Chevelle convertible.
Right.
And he got those seat relocators from year one.
Right.
They're like $35 or something. It's a set of, basically steel tabs. And you take your seat out, you put the tab in the floor, and it gives you a new hole a couple inches back to put your seat in.
I gotcha. Oh,
and he loves it. He's like, that is a great thing.
All right.
Because he likes his seat. He doesn't want to change all that.
Yeah.
It's just in the wrong place. And it's not like you can just drill holes in the floor, because the seat mount is important.
Sure. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And, there's a cage nut or a bigger nut with a load-bearing plate, under the floor that the bolt goes through to make it safe. So those utilize that, and then it's a, 1/8-inch thick piece of steel or something. And it's very simple, but they work great.
Nice.
You should get a set.
I think I'm going to get a set.
Write that down for Power Tour.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Get some for the driver and passenger side.
Yeah. So
good tip.
It's there you go. There's some value in this episode this time.
Oh, brilliant.
Another thing I think is funny is I can drive my old Riviera around, and people look at it like some weird dude in an old car. I drive the Galaxy around, it's like the circus came to town.
Is that right?
People are honking and falling out of their windows and waving and taking pictures, and it's nuts. And it's bright red. It's got, a lot of polished trim on it and everything. And it looks like it's not invisible like the Riv. So it took a little getting used to again, to see people being that wound up. And what was cool is I saw quite a bit of younger people.
Oh, nice. Good.
Like teenagers. Hey, in fact, after work, I took it for a spin tonight. I was looking for a little ragtop therapy after the hard day's work, and the weather was, 70s and sunny. So drove around. We've got a great road near us called Bluff Road. It goes kind of near the Mississippi River and one side has a bluff and the other side's got nice farm fields and it's kind of wide open. And on 3 occasions, like this 89 or 97 Nissan Altima kind of pulls up, with the headlights that are yellowed and, like a slightly different colored door. And it's a car that's been kind of maintained, but it's typical of what a 16-year-old kid owns.
Sure.
Just as a first car. And I look over and there's like 3 high school kids in it. They're all like, that car's awesome, man. And taking pictures and everything. And
nice.
What is it? And that was cool to hear.
That is pretty cool to hear.
That there's interest in the old cars.
Yeah, they may not know a lot about cars, but they know what they like, and when they see it, they let you know. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Maybe that can spark a whole new passion in one of those kids.
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah. I will say it's a little spooky sometimes when you're driving on the road and some guy's laying on the horn next to you because he wants to give you a thumbs up. That's great. I appreciate it. In a convertible, it's when you're not used to it, it's a little startling. Because I'm still, I haven't driven this car in a while, so I'm monitoring gauges and feeling it out. And, trying to focus, and all of a sudden the horn's blowing. It's like, what? But,
did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly. But don't get me wrong, I appreciate the interest and the sentiment. But so that was really cool.
That is really cool, man. I'm glad you got to take that out, and everything is sorted to your liking. That's important.
Well, I think we're just getting into more detail items that weren't a problem before that are now, obvious, which is good.
Yeah, but you get to enjoy it. I mean, it changes the whole attitude that you have for the car when you can get in there, turn the key, and just go. And like you said, the steering is nice. Shift points are perfect. Yeah, maybe the seat's a little uncomfortable, but you can overlook that for now. Yep. But it just feels right, and it makes you feel so much better when you come back.
For sure.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, when you shift it from it being stressful to take the car out.
Yeah, like, oh, crying out
it's
loud.
It's not figured out.
I hope my AAA's paid up. Whoa, boy.
Yeah, what's that noise? Or oil pressure, or it's getting hot, or whatever. And
what do I smell? Oh, geez.
Yep. And like that GTO we were talking about, at our shop, we have the luxury and the ability of being a shop that pays attention to the drivability before the car goes home. So this, my own car would be vastly different if my 8-hour day job was to make it right on those drives.
True.
To me, it's a piecemeal few minutes I get to mess with it here and there. And luckily I keep notes so I remember what I was working on, as opposed to take the car for a test drive, bring it back, say, oh yeah, there's a noise over there, put it on the rack, identify it, get the part, fix it, drive it, and correct all that stuff.
Right.
So it's really nice when somebody brings a car in that they just pulled out of a barn, or they haven't driven in 10 years, or they've been having just a crappy time driving, and when our guys can look at it and go, oh yeah, well, you got a rear axle seal leaking, and your power steering unit is shot, and you got manual brakes, and we make a few modifications and fix the stuff, and then they pick it up and it's like, oh, I can use this thing now.
Yeah, this is what this is supposed to feel like. This is amazing.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people have been conditioned to think that old cars drive terribly,
yes,
compared to new ones. And they don't if they're right.
Correct. Yeah, they feel great. When I first got my GTO, the front end was pretty worn out. And when you stepped on the brakes, the whole car would move to the left without any steering input, because the bushings were just completely shot. I'm like, this car sucks, man. And then I rebuilt the whole front and rear suspension, put on disc brakes, and it completely transformed everything. It was a joy to drive after that.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, I would
sure.
I would drive it at relatively high speeds, on a closed course, of course. Please don't try this at home, kids.
Professional driver.
Yes. And that car would stay planted on the ground, would not move an inch, and it was perfect. I'm like, this is how this is supposed to be.
Right. And I think that's by 67, the GTO had some suspension upgrades, but yours was just worn out, right? It had special shocks and springs and a sway bar in the front.
Yeah, it had a sway bar in the front,
Yeah, but once that stuff is working the way even it was just originally designed, it's much better.
Yeah.
Local gentleman just brought us a really cool one. It's a 1954 Ford F-250 pickup truck.
Oh, boy.
That his dad bought new in 54 in Redbud, Illinois, where our shop is.
Get out of town, man.
Yeah.
That's killer.
And there's some friends of ours locally. Their last name is Ratz, R-A-T-Z, and James and Jonathan, these two brothers they've done Drag Week several times. They've been doing this for a long time. Their grandfather owned the Ford dealer that sold this truck new. That's
unreal.
Yeah, it's wild.
That is very wild.
It's a 1 year only color, a 1954 only. I think it's called Sea Breeze Green. It's like a very pale, it's like a giant shamrock shake, right?
Sure.
That's basically the color. And it looks awesome. And the owner thankfully has entrusted this thing to us, which we appreciate because, it is part of the family. But it's just got some little silly drivability things because it's an old truck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a V8, I think a 292 automatic transmission in an old pickup truck like that. Yeah, and then a factory radio, which is the speakers overhead in a little compartment.
Whew.
Yeah, really interesting.
That's futuristic.
Yeah, so we're going to do some work on that, and that'll be a feature video for sure because that thing is just too cool. And we've learned, what's that?
I just Googled this truck, and it reminds me of Sanford and Son. I love it.
Well, yeah, if Sanford and Sons was nice, but it's that body style.
It was nice.
But yeah, it's that same shape, that early, and it's an F-250, so it's actually a 3/4 ton, and it's a long bed, so it's useful. And I've learned that the Ratz family still has potentially some old Ratz Ford dealership stickers.
Ooh.
And we're trying to get one to put back on the truck because it was repainted at some point and somebody, they peeled all that stuff off.
Right.
Yeah. But that'll be another one. I'm thoroughly convinced, once we get a tune-up on it and we're going to put different wheels and tires because they're too small and fix the brakes and whatnot. It'll drive great,
That's killer.
Yeah. It's never left home.
That is very unique. Something that old is still surviving in the same town where it grew up.
Yep.
Very cool.
It is. But what also is very cool is when your boy here ends up losing the trivia question for like every episode this year.
No, you haven't lost every one, have you?
This year, I think I have. We've got to get our statistician to check it out.
Yes, please.
Mr. Yardley.
Mr. Yardley, please.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we certainly got last week one wrong.
Yeah.
All right. We won't go over that again. All right. So, moving to trivia. Kevin, I asked you about the Go-Go's music video for Our Lips Are Sealed and what car they drove around L.A. in. And you answered 1950 Merc Ragtop, which would have been super cool if that was the car.
But it's not.
However, it turns out it was a 1960 Buick LeSabre.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, cool car. Real cool car.
Well, that fits then.
Yeah.
They got that right. That works.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Huh. Right on. All righty. Well, my question to you was regarding our friend Bobby Unser. how many times did he win the Pikes Peak hill climb?
Mm-hmm.
And you said 6. And then you said, no, it's probably like 13. And then you said, I'm going to say 14 because you recalled that the international standard for naming an event after somebody requires 14 victories.
It's true, kids. Look it up.
Yes. Well, the correct answer is 13.
Oh, you no! Oh, man.
You had it. You had it.
I had it.
You actually didn't guess it. You said 6, and you're like, nah, it's probably 13.
Yeah, I
and
want to say 13, but then you said, boy, that's an unlucky number. And I'm like, you know what? It is an unlucky number. I'm not going to say 13 then. I'm going to say 14. Oh, my goodness.
There it was. Well, I'm generally not a guy who believes in luck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a, opportunity plus action.
Mm-hmm.
Something comes along and, these people that, not to start a whole nother tirade, but when you see these people that have worked their whole life to amass whatever they have, and then somebody comes along, oh, you're lucky, man, you got a 67 GTO.
Yeah.
Luck's got nothing to do with it, pal. It's not like I woke up and it was just in my garage. It fell out of the sky.
Wasn't under the Christmas tree one day, Pete's sake.
Well, that wouldn't even be luck because somebody put it there.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Luck, to me, I think, the greatest, luckiest thing that I cannot explain that was a benefit was when my car broke down and I met my wife. That was it. That was a lifetime of luck in one sweep. I won.
Yep. You did. You absolutely did.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I will say I'm fortunate that I own this vehicle all day long. I'm extremely fortunate to be able to have this. There's a lot of people who can't.
I agree with that too.
So,
but I just don't see where it's luck.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were spinning the wheel of meat and you kept landing on steak dinners, that's kind of lucky, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. Right.
So that kind of luck. But
all
right. Well, 13. That was the win. But, off by 1.
Oh, before we sign off here, you've been doing a little moonlighting in your spare time with on another show.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think our people need to hear about this because it's a pretty good show.
Oh, well, right on. Yeah, you're right. I have been. I don't know what my position is there. I'm not really the host. I'm kind of a facilitator on what is called the Stubborn German podcast. And the Stubborn German is a brewery that a friend of ours, Mr. Chris Ron, and his wife Tammy opened 5 years ago. And it's been very successful. And Chris is the consummate beer guy and bourbon aficionado and all things spirits. And he and I, we've known each other for a long time. And he used to be a technician, and he used to own an auto repair shop. And that's where I met him, is because he was doing our alignments a long time ago. Anyway, fast forward to today, where a couple years ago, I had approached him on the idea of doing maybe a local theme podcast here in our little county, because it's a great way to share stories and get to know personalities. And he's like, yeah, I'd be a guest. And I went, yeah, cool. Well, I don't have time to do it. And he's like, I don't either. So it got shelved. Well, one of the patrons in his bar produces podcasts for fun, and came to him and said, hey, tell you what, if you want to do it, I'll edit it. I'll post it. I'll do all the internet side. You just got to talk, right?
Yeah.
So Chris is like, oh, well, that'd be great. I don't know where to start. So he called me.
Perfect.
And he's like, hey, would you mind, kind of helping us out? And I said, well, sure. Which turned into, I'm the guy that does the intro and the close and kind of usher things along. And we've done 5 episodes. We're gonna record a couple tomorrow night, as a matter of fact.
Cool.
But the fun thing there is that I'm the guy who doesn't know anything on that, right? So these guys have the opportunity to really geek out on brewing and
right
beer and bourbon and what it's like to own a bar and ingredients and I'm the guy that says, well, what the heck does that mean?
Right.
I've certainly experienced enough, product and enjoy his creations, but I don't know how to brew. I don't show up at the meetings,
You're right. You're not in the Brown Water Club.
The Brown Water Society.
Brown Water
learned
Society.
About that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, that's his bourbon club. So it's a different approach for me, which is fun. It's out of the comfort zone to a degree. It's very comfortable to do it, though. I mean, we've had some really great guests and nice people. So
yeah, I mean, you can tell you're having a great time, and it's cool subject matter and learning about the brewing process and how he got into it and distilling and, how he got into, distilling bourbon and some of the ideas that he wanted to have for the place and that his wife shot down because they are not good ideas, my friend.
Yeah. Well, Chris and his wife, Tammy, and my wife, Kelly, and I, especially kind of before COVID times, we'd get together whenever we could because, we can swap husband and wife business owner stories.
Sure.
And learn from each other. And they're both really great people. And Tammy and Kelly both kind of have a similar role where Chris and I are the ones that come up with, the one example that he gave on the Stubborn podcast was a beer slide.
Right. That's right.
We need a beer slide. Nobody even knows what a beer slide is, but it sounds great. And Tammy's like, no.
Yeah.
And of course, when we started our business, I was the guy saying, we need to do the TV show. We got to do these events. We got to do all this stuff. But recently, I think that's kind of shifted as Kelly has become the person that kind of runs the business side of it.
Right.
Now I'm the guy kind of going, do we really need to be doing that? But it brings me to the bear story where, what I've learned is sometimes these ideas kind of run their course. Mm-hmm. And that's how Tammy handles Chris often. Okay, sure.
Sure, hon.
And Kelly and I were driving to SEMA cross country one year, and she looks at me and says, we were in, I don't know, western Colorado or something, and she said, can I get a bear?
Right.
And I said, what? And a bear, like a brown bear, a little black bear maybe. And she's got a lot of experience raising animals on, growing up on a farm. And I thought to myself, I could yell at her and say, no, you're crazy. And that's not the right answer. Mm-hmm. So I said, sure, right on. So she said, great. So, of course, starts researching on the internet, reading all about it. And a state and a half later in our drive, she's like, yeah, I don't think I want a bear.
Oh, okay, hon. If that's what you want.
Whatever you want. Yeah, exactly. So I noticed I get handled that way, too.
Oh, totally.
And it's all good.
Yeah. Beer slide. Well, where's the beer? What are we going to do with all the old beer then? Are we going to have a change room? Are people going to come in their bathing suits? Oh, yeah, maybe we don't need a beer slide.
Well, especially when you say, well, what are you going to do with all the old beer?
Right.
And when are you going to clean this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So his bar is called the Stubborn German Brewing Company, and that's why the podcast is called the Stubborn German Podcast. And thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I'm glad you tuned in and dig it. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. More stuff to burn time, ladies and gentlemen. You can find that podcast and this one wherever you tune in. And if you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button. Drop us a review. Always like to hear those. And we've got some interesting topics coming up for next time. Trivia questions and maybe a little bit more nonsense. Anything else you want to throw in before we...
I'm just really happy to be here, man.
Me too.
Dig it.
All right. Well, for Mr. Mike Huball Clarke, I'm Kevin Oeste, reminding you to keep all the shiny sides up and be inspired by Mr. Unser and do whatever it takes to be a champion, because relying on luck ain't going to get you there. See you next time.